All right, everyone, welcome to this full moon Sidereal Astrology forecast for the days surrounding October 5th, 2017. This channel is about Sidereal Astrology. If you are new, definitely check out the link down below. We're using the actual size of the constellations here, so the signs are different from mainstream astrology. All right, so a full moon in Pisces, everyone, right in the middle of a constellation, actually, here around the 5th. What is the 5th? 5th is Thursday. So usually with Pisces, it's a more challenging energy to work with, especially because this one will be squaring up to Pluto. So it is emphasizing, I think, a lot of the dreaminess of Pisces, the uncertainty that perhaps can be the case with Pisces. And with Pluto, as I always say, non-attachment, facing our fears, being aware of the things we're afraid of, and then taking action in the face of those. So we'll talk more about that, but what's interesting about this full moon is that just within a couple hours of it, there is going to be a conjunction between Venus and Mars, who have been getting closer to each other this week. So we've likely already been feeling this. And this is a totally different energy, which has more to do with passion, and especially in interpersonal relationships, just a bit of energy there, attractiveness, and very creative because the conjunction is in Leo, in fact. So two very different energies. Some of us will be feeling a blend of both of these in particular things in our life, and others may be experiencing maybe two different sides of our week in terms of this. All right, so let's go ahead and break all of this down here in more detail when we return. All right, so let's start by analyzing this full moon. It will be at 14:34 Eastern time. So for all of us, pretty much on the 5th. But of course, we do feel this a day before and a day after. So this video will be for the surrounding days. We'll look at the individual aspects, but in terms of Pisces, this is about what I always say with Pisces is finding peace. It's the last sign of the Zodiac. It's about going full circle back around to really surrendering and letting go of the material world, you could say. Of course, we want to stay grounded, and I'll talk about that. But, to let go of anything we're attached to, the things that, are really a part of this world, that as we let go of or accept, a tremendous peace arises. And that's really what Pisces, you could say, is trying, quote unquote, to help us do, is to come full circle back to finding peace. So looking at the actual constellation, this is the two fishes. And if you look at the constellations, two fishes swimming in opposite directions, tied together by a string. Well, in fact, two different strings that are actually meeting at a point. So there's a few significant things about this. One is that there's two fishes, right? And they're swimming in opposite directions, which really emphasizes the dual nature of our reality. Right. So, and this is also seen by the fact that Pisces is a mutable sign, which is very much about duality, mutability, positive, negative, yin and yang, seeing both sides of the coin. And so Pisces is very much about seeing this, right? Seeing this in terms of this physical world being of duality and, accepting that, understanding that this is, part of the way life works, you could say, but seeing both. Right? So seeing both sides of the coin. So we're not just into the positive and we're not just into the negative. We're centered, right? We see both as just two halves of our perspective on reality. So the other side to it in terms of this string is that, Pisces is about interconnectivity and that we're all connected. So when Pisces is influenced like this collectively, there's usually a very good connection to the collective at this time. And so there's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of deep things. And again, Pisces, it's the ocean. It's being lost, right? It's just not knowing exactly what the future has in store. But at the same time, being connected, right, to each other or to the world at large, to the universe with Pisces. But then with those strings coming together to a point, it really is connecting to that now moment, right? That centeredness. The singularity, right? And some might call it God or the universe or source or whatever, but being connected to that singularity, right? That point that we're all connected to. So it's that type of thing. And of course, you know, the qualities that can arrive from this, because it's hard for us to do, you know, this Pisces stuff as physical human beings. You know, the mind wants to figure things out, wants to understand things. So it can create uncertainty. It can create doubt if we're trying to figure things out. It's a very dreamy energy. You know, it feels like we could be, you know, not quite here in this world. So it's important to be receptive at this time. I think really listen to our intuition. It's an excellent time when it's a full moon to develop our intuition. Because the energy is illuminated, and a full moon is a more active time. So it's not so much about retreating. It's about actually implementing Pisces into the world, right? And like I was saying, acceptance, you know, which goes to the whole present moment, just really accepting where we are now, accepting ourself, our life, the now moment. And that, you know, really is the key to finding peace. Right? If you look at like Christed and Buddhic teachings, this is essentially what it's about. It's that acceptance, which leads to peace and faith and trust and, you know, surrender to what's larger than us and what we don't have control over. All right. So that's the Pisces side to it. But in terms of balancing all of this out, like I said, especially with full moons, it's like we don't want to just go into just the no thingness of Pisces. It is about balancing this with Virgo. Right, so all full moons are opposite the sun, and in this case, the full moon is opposite Mercury, as Mercury does get closer to the sun, and they'll conjoin this weekend. So this is all in Virgo, the opposition of Pisces, which is essentially saying that yes, there's all this stuff we don't have control over, but there are things we do. And typically with Virgo, it's our routine, it's our self-improvement, and it's our service to others. So I think a really good way of balancing this out is focusing on what we do have control over, taking care of things, the work, the day-to-day, the service, right? Organization, improving, living our life, like taking care of our needs, and then also, you know, others' needs as well, right? So this very survival, you could say, but not in the primal sense, just in the sense that as human beings, our mind is our greatest tool of survival. It's our only tool of survival. And we use our minds to find solutions, to figure things out, to take care of our day-to-day, right? Virgo is the constellation of the maiden who's holding the wheat, right? Suggesting that it's through the work, it's through the, you know, and through the work we find the harvest, right? And the improvement and the refinement of self and the refinement of our life, of the physical world. So anything you can do to focus on that side of it, I think is great to balance this out. Right, that's where the energy is with the sun, and that's also where our mind is right now with Mercury. So let's talk about some of this challenge to this in terms of the square up to Pluto. It's the only major aspect other than that opposition up to Mercury. And Pluto's been in Sagittarius, so, you know, there could be with the square a bit of a clash, again, collectively, where, you know, all this receptive stuff about what we have control over and don't have control over, this the Virgo, Pisces energy, there's Sagittarius that squares it. And Sagittarius is essentially our life view, our worldview, where we're headed, right? That's why Pisces naturally squares Sag, because we don't know where we're headed when Pisces is really influenced. We're not really supposed to. So there can be a bit of a clash between our perspective and our life view and what we're experiencing, let's say, right? So with Pluto, it could bring up some deep fears, certainly. You know, again, there's a constructive way of working with this, and if any fears do come up, really good to, again, accept, right? Pluto is very much like Pisces in that the corollary, where they both come together, is on the acceptance side of things. But what Pluto is helping us accept is accept the fear, right? To accept the worst case scenario, whatever the mind might conjure up and think about or whatever, even if it's not mental, just the emotion, right? Accepting the fear, the emotion itself. So through that, it's very liberating actually and very powerful. And that's where the power of Pluto really arises, when we get to that point when we're totally accepting, well, not totally, but 99% or as close as possible to the, you know, outcome, right? To the fear. And that's tremendously liberating when we accept it. We take action, we initiate, right? It's non-attachment, but we take action nonetheless, right? Non-attached action. And through that, you know, it's very liberating. We actually take steps usually that we normally wouldn't take had we still been operating in that sense of attachment and fear with Pluto. So really good to examine fears, really good to accept them. Maybe do some healing. You know, Pluto's also very much about that. And as a result, right, accepting it, transforming, feeling liberated and empowered with Pluto. But again, it's challenging to do with the square, but it can be very constructive at this time. All right, so that's the full moon generally, but let's talk about this conjunction between Venus and Mars. As you can see, they're happening within a couple hours of each other. The full moon at 14:34, Venus-Mars conjunct at 12:53 Eastern time, this is. So synchronistically, they're associated. And again, very interesting because they're so different, these energies, right? So this conjunction, Venus-Mars, is in Leo, and Leo is about creative self-expression. And when Venus and Mars get together, it's about passion. It's about interpersonal relationships. There's this increased sense of attractiveness and even being attracted to others as well. So when it comes to the interactions of our personal relationships, there's definitely this electricity or this passion, this fire, this flame, passion, if you will, right? And so it's great to utilize this. It's a great time to be aware of it and to enjoy it. And in fact, that's what Leo is about, enjoying the lighter side to things, right? While this full moon and all this is more serious, this is lighter, right? And it's about having some fun, right? Expressing yourself, maybe even doing some creative things, in fact. Projects or art or whatever it is could be very enjoyable at this time. All right, so yeah, so if it's in your personal relationship, like if it's romance, you know, it's definitely heating things up, certainly could. But in your everyday experiences, it's just a bit of that, right, energy, just a bit of that lighter energy. And romance is something that is really, can be incorporated into anything, not necessarily in the sexual sense, but just in the lighter sense, the easygoing sense, the fun sense, wanting to, you know, laugh, have some fun, things like that. All right, so yeah, that conjunction, I think, very important. It's also deep with Mars. It's like we have this depth in our relationships right now, or this openness, this truth, this vulnerability. And then at the same time, we're very receptive as well. We're active yet receptive. Yin, yang, masculine, feminine coming together in the sky. All right, everyone. So that is the full moon in a nutshell. For those of you who do want to see the transits for the surrounding days, because I won't be making separate dailies here. This is going to be one daily for all 3 days. If you want to see the aspects, there they are. But I think this full moon and the way I've sort of highlighted it is going to be the emphasis for these surrounding days. All right. So I hope you guys have a fantastic full moon. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. I'll see you very soon for the next weekend forecast. Take care.